There's a question I've been chasing for the last 15 years, and I think I finally found the answer. When I was a kid learning guitar, I remember watching players online and wondering what actually makes a guitarist good. Not fast, not flashy, but in the way that their sound just hits you. That emotional resonance. After nearly 15 years of guitar playing and teaching it for the last 3, I've realized that the thing that separates our favorite guitarists from the average player isn't what I initially thought. What I assumed about great musicians, the ones you and I desire to play like, was that they just have it all figured out. Turns out that wasn't the case at all. It's not about mastering every technique or knowing the perfect chord for every progression. It's actually something much simpler. Before we get into it, if you're interested in musical deep dives or anything guitar related, click that subscribe button because I'd love to see you around for future videos. As I became more fluent in my understanding of guitar and began studying the processes of other artists, I've learned that the real secret sauce, the true essence that makes up a good guitarist, is really just pattern recognition. No ability showcases expertise better than being able to recognize and repurpose consistencies. And I don't just mean remembering chord shapes and scale formulas. I'm talking about being able to hear the next note or chord before you even play it. The real golden egg is the intuition that this pattern recognition develops. It's what allows players to adapt, not just recite. This is why great guitarists can be tossed into a random jam session and still sound like themselves. They're not chasing correctness, they're simply following familiarity. Even the best improvisers aren't just pulling things from thin air.
Let's gent.
They're recycling micro patterns that they've played hundreds of times before. Their spontaneity is actually just deeply internalized consistency. Something I'm telling my students all the time is that guitar improvement is really just high volume experimentation. Unless you were born a string whisperer, you won't gain any noticeable improvements without trial and error. It's also why many artists can perform covers perfectly, but freeze when it's time to write an original piece. Pre-written songs just don't leave room for discovery. And discovery is where this intuition is born. The best way I found to explain this is through language. Conversation is an immensely complex social exchange and probably the greatest exhibitor of human behavior there is. Every sentence you speak reflects patterns. Your word choice, phrasing, cadence are all shaped by tens of thousands of interactions. And yet you don't think about it, you just talk. The extraordinary quantity of conversational exposures has granted you the ability to practically autopilot your way through most verbal interactions. And that's how guitar starts to feel once you've done it enough. At a certain point, the scales and chords you play are no longer active thoughts. They can be seen as phrases, sentences, or as we mentioned earlier, that intuition. Here's where most people go wrong. Unless you're bouncing between genres or drastically different styles, you don't need to learn everything. You don't need a dozen scales or 5 ways to play every chord. What you do need is a handful of tools that you understand deeply enough to squeeze every ounce of value out of them. Take me, for example. If you sat and listened to me play for an hour, you'd start to notice patterns. You'd hear the chords, textures, and techniques I come back to, along with the sounds that I've fallen in love with. You can describe this quite literally as my voice. And the magical brew that all of this repetition concocts is an identity. This is the ingredient that allows you to distinguish one rock guitarist from the next, or a classical guitarist from another fingerstyle aficionado. Every time you reach for the same chord voicing, make use of a similar rhythm, or apply a certain melodic phrasing, you're reinforcing your musical fingerprint. And that fingerprint isn't something you find, it's something you build, often without even realizing it. Most people imagine playing style as a choice, that you wake up one day and just decide to sound like yourself. But in reality, it's the slow accumulation of thousands of small preferences. The riffs you like, the rhythms you kept coming back to, the moments that just stuck. That's why 2 players can use the same notes in the same song and still be unmistakably different. Because it's not about what they played, it's how often they've made those decisions before. Once you realize identity comes from repetition, it becomes obvious why trying to master everything can quickly dilute your sound. You need space to repeat the things you love until they become yours. If there were any domain where being a jack of all trades was useless, it would have to be in the world of musicianship. I'm a huge advocate for exploring different genres and playing styles, especially early on, because you need to know what you naturally gravitate towards. But the moment you find your strengths, you double down.
Double down.
The reality is, music isn't school. You don't get bonus points for being average at everything. In many ways, you're penalized for it. It's the merging of unique strengths that creates truly great guitarists, not the raising of every shortcoming. It's why folk guitarists usually don't make the best metal players, and why brilliant realist painters rarely get praised for their geometric shapes. There's absolutely nothing for those who are mediocre at a wide range of styles. The discipline to locate and hone in on your talents is a practice that every great guitarist in history has done, and it will always be how greats are identified. And here's the flip side. The best guitarists also know what doesn't work for them. Personally, I have abnormally long fingers, which helps with fret reach and extending chords, but I'm likely to grow wings before I master sweep picking. I don't know why, it's just always been a form of active resistance for me. That doesn't mean I've necessarily given up. I've just adjusted. To compensate, I've leaned heavily into alternate and hybrid picking to replicate a similar feel in a way that works best for my hands. And this isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about knowing where your time is best spent. For those who are especially focused on writing original music, a large portion of your energy should go towards sharpening the tools that actually shape your sound, not those that set it back. I've met a few players who obsess over improving every weakness, but the real progress begins when you simply identify them. And once you're aware of what your hands can't do, it becomes even more important to refine what they can. So after you're done mixing the pot and popping it in the oven, the last element that will determine how your dish comes out is your personal taste. Once you've developed your patterns, leaned into your strengths, and designed around your inefficiencies, taste is where instinct meets choice. It's the last filter that tells you not just what sounds correct, but what sounds right for you. It's how 5 players can use the same notes and induce vastly unique emotions. It's the cherry on top, or the invisible glue that makes music sound like you, even when the same tools are available. Taste is where you stop asking, what can I play? And begin answering with, what should I play? When I first embarked down the satisfying road that is guitar playing, it felt like an endless abyss with infinite routes and side trails and techniques to chase. But as I gained some mileage along this track, I learned that you don't need to walk every path. And even if you manage to explore an impressive amount, there will always be a lane that feels more like home. And that lane, the one you return to over and over, that's not a limitation. That's your voice. And that's what I've discovered makes a pretty good guitarist. If you enjoyed the video, a like would be awesome. And if it seems like everyone is genreless these days, check out this video, because there's some truth to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys next time.